Yes. My name is Exen Kambule, and I am going to be your program director this morning. Maybe very briefly, let me just welcome you to the third day of WISA. Maybe I am going to start off by just requesting everyone to observe a moment of silent prayer or meditation, if we may. Just 1 minute, please. Or can we play? We have a meditation. Can we play it? Our technical team.
Good morning, esteemed colleagues and distinguished guests. I am Dr. Linda Naiker from the Research Institute of Theology and Religion at the University of South Africa. I am honored today to bring you a short interfaith exhortation on the significant occasion of International Widows' Day. I acknowledge the resilience, strength of widows everywhere and recognize the importance of this gathering, which seeks to empower and support and amplify the voices of women who have experienced loss of a partner. May our collective presence here serve as a testament to the power of community, compassion, and solidarity. Let us unite in our shared humanity and commitment to creating a brighter future for all. Let me begin by speaking directly to widows gathered amongst us. Your journey is one of courage in the face of loss and adversity. In a world where you may feel overlooked and marginalized, know that your presence is significant, your presence is valued, and your presence is cherished. I urge you to stand tall in your worth and believe that you are deserving of respect and support. Your experiences and emotions are valid, and you deserve to be seen, to be heard, and to be respected. We as a community stand with you in solidarity, offering empathy, understanding, and love. Draw strength from within, knowing that you are not alone on this path. Your stories inspire us. Your presence enriches us, and your resilience humbles us. Together, let us work towards a future where widows are empowered, respected, and embraced by compassionate societies. Let us reflect on the challenges faced by widows in our societies and around the world. In many countries, widows are marginalized and neglected and face discrimination. It is therefore important for us, regardless of our faith traditions, to take seriously the plight of widows, to stand in solidarity with widows, and to work towards creating a more just, inclusive, and compassionate society where widows feel validated, affirmed, and supported. Let us draw on the teachings of our faith traditions and advocate for the rights and dignity of widows. Let's extend helping hands. Let's listen with empathy and strive to make a tangible difference in their lives. Together, Let's strive to build a future where no widow feels alone and abandoned, but finds solace in the support of caring communities. Let us pray. O divine Creator, source of all compassion and love, we lift up in prayer all widows who are experiencing loneliness, sorrow, and hardship. Grant them comfort in their grief, strength in their vulnerability, and hope for the future. Bless all of those who are working to support widows, advocating for their rights, and creating more inclusive societies. Inspire us to be instruments of your peace, reaching out with kindness and understanding to those in need. May we be guided by the wisdom of our faith traditions to treat widows with dignity, respect, and compassion. Help us to sow seeds of solidarity and empathy, nurturing a world where every widow is valued and supported. On this International Widows' Day, we stand with widows everywhere, sending our love, our supplications, and our commitment to creating a more caring world. Amen. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Ladies and gentlemen, we're going to proceed with our program, and right now I would like to invite the COD of our department, the acting COD of our department, Dr. Nkosi, to give us the welcome remarks. Dr. Nkosi?
Good morning, everyone. Good morning. It is my honor and privilege to welcome you all to today's Widowhood 2024 program on behalf of Professor Nomanesi Madikizela-Madia and the Department of Educational Foundations. I am deeply grateful for your presence and unwavering support that you continue to show towards this important cause. First and foremost, I would like to extend a heartfelt welcome to our esteemed guest, Dr. Crisilda Canada. It's nice to see you with us. We always see you on TV. Our panelist members, Dr. Sizakele Matlabe Danke, Dr. Tuli Shandu Petla, Dr. Exin Kambule, and all attendees who have taken time to join us today. Your commitment to advocating for the rights and empowerment of widows is truly commendable and inspires us all. Widowhood often brings numerous challenges, including social, economic, and emotional hardships. Those of us who were attending yesterday will tell you, we heard the voices of our mothers who were here. There is really emotional hardship in their voices. But Dr. Danke, we will not stop to create platforms like this one, where we give our widows a voice to be heard. As we celebrate the International Widows' Day and launch a book that addresses widowhood challenges through shared experiences and collaborative strategies, we hope that this program will serve as a platform to amplify the voices of widows and bring about meaningful change in their lives. I would like to express my sincere appreciation to all who have taken time to contribute in making this event a success. Your dedication and hard work have not gone unnoticed, and indeed, it is because of you that we are convening here today. As we embark on today's program, let us remain focused on our shared goal to create a supportive and empowering environment for all widows. Together, we can make a significant impact and foster a society that upholds justice and equality for everyone. Thank you once again for being here, And I look forward to a productive and enlightening session. You are all welcome. Thank you, Program Director.
Thank you, Dr. Nkosi. Thank you so much. We feel good now that you have spoken and you've welcomed us to the event. Ladies and gentlemen, the last 2 days have been extremely difficult in a sense, heart-wrenching in so many different ways. The stories that we heard from the widows were something else. So can we try to make today a little bit lighter, if we may? Smile, if possible. We'll appreciate that. Next on the item, ladies and gentlemen, are the remarks by the chairperson of UNISTA Women's Forum, which is Dr. Sizakele. Oh, it's a voice note. Heavenly Father, thank you so much.
To be part of this occasion this morning. As sisters, mothers, aunts, wives, widows, and daughters, we hold closely to our hearts the notion of sharing experiences and assisting each other through the turbulence that life sometimes throws at us. We believe that programs such as this one that we are having today go a long way in benefiting us as we journey through life. Our love for each other as women propels us to help each other and in the process make a difference in each other's lives. We are excited about today's proceedings. We welcome you all and thank you all for your attendance and participation this morning.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you very much. Oh, it's too, okay. Is it better now? Okay, wonderful. Ladies and gentlemen, now we are going to proceed and get an overview of, the Widowhood Issues program, get a background and context of how we actually got here. I mean, pretty much all of you are aware of the fact that, this program has been sort of a culmination of many years of hard work by colleagues who are so focused and concerned about issues related to widowhood. So, Dr. Sizakele, Danke, could you please do us an honor to give us the context, please? Thank you. Give her a round of applause, ladies and gentlemen. She is just unbelievably, yes, thank you.
Thanks. Good morning, colleagues. My name is Sizakele. I just want to explain how this project started so that you can have a background understanding. Do we need to translate today? Mama, we understand? No must translate? You understand? Thank you. Okay. We don't want our visitors to miss the message. Okay, 2012, I lost a husband. So things happened in 2012. I saw shifts in relationships from my in-laws, some friends, and I didn't understand because that was the time when I felt like I was in a most vulnerable state. I was expecting people who were close to me to support me, but they decided otherwise. So that bothered me. So it made me to look after other women, like literally open my eyes and check at other women who were wearing morning gowns. I will go to them, introduce myself, and then I will ask them, how are you coping? What is happening? And then I will explain my story to them. And then I discovered that a lot is happening. People were hating. So we ended up meeting in the College of Education, Botromwe 4, when we started this. So we'll meet there, we'll tell our stories, we'll cry. When we finish, we feel better. And We'll wipe our tears, then we leave the building. We're fine. We're like, then I was like, this is actually happening. This is working, you know? So I decided to do a scholarship out of it. I decided to open up the community project and a research project out of these widowhood issues. So we started collecting data. The first group that I piloted, they were working widows. Most of them are having careers and they are also having high positions. But what I can tell you is that the issues are the same. It doesn't matter whether you are educated or you don't have education. So what is happening in the widowhood space is that, one, the widow is accused of killing the husband. So it's like a black man cannot just die. If a black man die now, you could be here, he is somewhere else, but if he passes away, you have killed him. If you are together in the car, they will ask, oh, how come the car did not knock on your side? Why on his side? So it's like, as women, we are the ones who are causing the death. So when you think, okay, I'm being accused, now I'm a murderer, according to the family, societies, friends, etc., then you get to the second phase, where now you have to deal with the stigma now. So a widow is seen as somebody who's got bad luck. It's like we are moving around with this bad luck, and this bad luck is the one that has caused the death of the husband. So now in our black cultures, it doesn't matter which group, ethnic group do you fall in. So as long as you are in Africa, you are a black person, we have cultures, good people. So amongst those cultures, there are practices that widows have to go through. We call them the widowhood rites. So some of the practices is that you have to wear the mourning gown. We call it inzilo or inzila. And then some they wear the black one, others they wear the navy blue one, but others are trying to modernize it. They use ishweshwe manje. So, yeah, that's one of the problems. So, after that, there are other rituals that the widow has to follow. Like, for instance, in other homestead, by 12 o'clock, you must be seated down. You don't have to do anything. In other families, they want you to prove that you did not kill their son. So how do you prove then? In other cultures, they wash the dead body, and the widow is forced to drink the water that has bathed the dead person so that she can prove that she did not kill her husband. In other countries, the widow is forced to sleep on the floor without a blanket. So that's one way of proving. In other cultures, the widow is forced to jump fire. So my question is, how do I jump fire when I'm weak, when I'm fragile? Because the death of your husband, it takes a toll on you. You get weak, you get sick, physically and mentally weak. So how then do I have to jump fire when I'm at my weakest? So if the fire burns you, they say the ancestors are angry because we have killed their son. So it's like you are found guilty that you have killed their son. So the other thing that widows are supposed to do in some cultures, I think, colleagues, we need to be careful about the types of marriages that we are taking. We need to understand what we are doing, the contracts that we get into when we get married. Culturally, when you look at ilobolo, the lobola marriage, the customary marriage, because we pay lobola, there is no divorce there. Culturally, there is no divorce. Because you are marrying the two people, the bride and the groom, And then you are also marrying the ancestors. So if me and him we divorce, how do we divorce the ancestors? Do you get it? That is why then, when your husband is dead, they want you to continue to marry someone within the family to continue with the relationship because there is no divorce, all right? And then what you must also remember is that we also have rights which are in the Constitution. So as women, as human beings, we need to understand our human rights. But if you don't understand your rights, then anyone is going to abuse you. What I don't like with our cultures is that they are not written down. And they seem to be changing over the years. What is not changing is the treatment of widows. That one is not changing. Instead, they are bringing new things which are really abusive and things which will benefit the perpetrators of the abuse. So we need to be careful then, because if you know your rights, you can be saying no to some of the things. You can refuse to participate in some of the things which they want you to participate in. So I think, let me pause here for now. I'm going to talk more about this during the other discussions. I just wanted to give you the background so that you understand where this program is coming from. So in the room, I'm having the team that I'm working with. Can you please stand up, colleagues, so that they can see you? They are not all here, colleagues. Others, they have bereavement, so yeah. Thank you very much. I'll pause here from now. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Another round of applause for Dr. Danke, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you. Thank you. It's quite fascinating, Dr. Sizad. You know, in anthropology, we have what we call organic substances and ephemeral essences. And that's the things like blood and bile, inyongo, that you use to connect the living and the dead. Quite fascinating. And the question of how then do you divorce that is something that opens up quite a fascinating, I think, research, you know, maybe for anthropologists and other people who are interested in that. Ladies and gentlemen, we will proceed with our program. And what I would like to do now is introduce our keynote speaker. It's quite fascinating that this is someone who is in radio, and probably not too many of you know that I spent over 3 years working on radio as well. Yes, as a presenter, programs manager. So let me just get started. Okay, so our keynote speaker, ladies and gentlemen, is a mother, a broadcaster, businesswoman, corporate executive, producer, program director, author, trainer, facilitator, wellness advocate, human rights activist, and a lover. Now, this is quite fascinating. A lover of finest things in life. She left a successful career in sales and marketing to advocate for wellness for the greater good and human development. Her pursuits in her ambitions have resulted in many invitations to speak and present papers at many conferences and meetings across the globe. She owns a wellness communications company called Positive Talk Services and currently corporate executive at 360 Global Solutions. SAWID trustee and a leadership council member for Africa Reach. She has worked at Kaya FM, Metro FM, SAFM, as well as hosting various talk shows on SABC, Mzansi Magic, BET Africa, How TV, and Soweto TV. She has been featured in various publications as a public figure and as a writer. She contributed as editor and columnist for Media 24's Drum Magazine, True Love, Real Magazine, and City Press, including Caxton's Bona Magazine. Recently, ladies and gentlemen, our keynote speaker was awarded. Now, I have a serious problem with the pronunciation of this particular word, but it's HGEIA Award for Global Health Leadership at the Women of Truth Integrative Health Conference in Dubai, and that particular award was awarded to her on the 31st of May 2024. And so, ladies and gentlemen, I would like to introduce to you Dr. Cressida Kananda, our keynote speaker. Another round of applause, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you. Thank you so much. Over to you.
Thank you. I'll make it easy for the camera guys and stand where I'm supposed to stand. Thank you very much. I deliberately stand and wait for those words to be read, my sister, because it's a message to all of us that you are not your circumstances. You are not your circumstances. Hana ka wena, refuse ngawe. Things happen in life as they should. That's why we are alive. But we need to ensure that we just don't give in. Life is war. Every day as you wake up, gentwa. So I would like you to give yourself a hug, please, before I speak. This person that you're hugging right now, tell him, tell her, I love you. I appreciate you. Babang Bamaketi, because they brought their office to this meeting. I asked you to hug yourself. I love you. I appreciate you. You are awesome. You are valuable. You are valued. You are amazing. Thank you. Give yourself a round of applause. It's interesting that we are having this last session on the 23rd of June. It is International Widows' Day, which is marked annually. I know that South Africa started in 2018. But as we mark this, we recognize, as you mentioned, Doc, earlier on, that black women whose husbands have died often find themselves at the mercy of their in-laws and are sometimes subjected to all manner of abuse in the name of culture, religion, you name it, ranging from sexual demands made by in-laws, and this is regarded as a cleansing ritual, to having their property taken away from them, leaving the children destitute. And the challenges are endless, as you've heard, and I'm sure it's something that's good label. But this morning, I'd like to just connect to my journey, my story. I was only 24 years old, training as a nurse at the time, at the peak of my, is there such a thing called younghood? Being young, right? And experiencing life as it was presented to me. At 24, my partner and I were planning for the biggest wedding we thought ever. Lobola negotiations had already been done, and on the 21st of December, we were going to have what we call white wedding. We had our traditional wedding, so we're going to have white wedding. And our daughter was 7 months old at the time. And it's 16th of December. My husband then decides, for today, just don't cook. I'm going to get us some KFC. Goes to get us some KFC. Unfortunately, he was shot. We still don't know who shot him. The people shot him, changed his clothes, put him in his car. Somebody else was driving, obviously. Got him to the hospital, dumped him there with the car, and disappeared. So instead of KFC, I received a call as a 24-year-old to come and identify this guy who came in my car, because the security guards knew my car, and they said, "There's this person, please make your way. We think it's your husband." We got there with my father-in-law, and the only words that he could utter at the time was, "Baba, take care of my family." And that was it. We lost him. As you can imagine how devastating that was. As a 24-year-old who doesn't come from a cultural background, my family is what you call amakalats. We believe in nothing. So I get into this space, kuthiwa amaSwati. First, I was asked to wear mourning clothes. I mourned for 1 year, 6 months as a 24-year-old. And when the mourning period was done, I was then cleansed on the Saturday. The Sunday, I wake up in my yard. There are male figures in the yard, and all of them lining up. I was given ukamba with a traditional brew, and whomever I believe should take over from my husband, I must put ukamba next to that person. So I'm choosing there and there. I then decided, kuthiwa, if you disagree, then you must break ukamba. So I decided to break it. I'm so grateful for that moment because I believed I am better than this. Because sometimes we succumb to things we don't know in the name of culture. Worse when there's no one fighting for you. As a child, you don't know what is right from what is wrong culturally. So I decided to break ukamba, and thank goodness none of them were handsome enough for me to choose from them. It was like, no, I did not sign up for this. And amongst those men, by the way, was my father-in-law. And this morning, so the next day when I wake up, my clothes, when I decided to break ukamba, on the Monday, my clothes were packed, put outside the gate. That's where I belong. Take just your clothes. And I did mention that we had a baby daughter who was 7 months old, and I was forced to even leave her. And we went through the courts, and I remember the magistrate asking me, "Unendlu?" Like I thought that was our house. And my father-in-law, who's rich, indicated that your name is not on this house. It was a gift from me for as long as my son is alive. So that means angnandlu, unemoto. The car was gifted to me on my birthday. I thought it was my car, and only to find that it's registered in my father-in-law's name. So it's not my car. During the mourning period, I was instructed to resign from nursing because I'm sure you've never seen a nurse that's wearing blue or black clothes. So they said culturally, if I wear the clothes and take them off when I get to work and wear them again, it's bad luck. Somebody else in the family is going to die. I don't know how true that was, because now I know it wasn't true, because I wore the clothes, I resigned at work, and still all his brothers have since passed on. So whatever we're trying to prevent happened anyway. And I mention all of this for us to get to a place where we begin to question culture. Some of these practices are a gross violation of human rights in the name of culture. And this morning, I'm sharing my story and journey for us not to compare wounds, but for us to begin to reflect on the role that we play as women in this abuse. Yes, my father-in-law dictated the laws and the rules, but my mother-in-law was the cheerleader in ensuring that this happens. Because mother-in-law is the facilitator, and she will even have aunties who are going to explain to me why this gross violation of human rights must happen, because it's culture. So I implore you as fellow women that as much as we point the finger that we feel abused, what is our role? What is our role in all of this? And when your son brings a daughter and say, this is who I love, why is it so difficult that when your son is no more, you must be searching and not say it's God's will? Well, we say it during the funeral, "Ntando kaNkulunkulu." But 2 days or a day later, we begin to ask, what role did she play? And that is the daughter-in-law. It becomes your fault that he's no more. As if women are the takers of life. I know us to just be givers of life. We give birth, don't we? So to this forum, life does change after widowhood. You suddenly are confronted with things that are unbelievable. The people you thought are your family in love suddenly become something else. So as your life changes, belonging to this forum is going to strengthen you to have access to the laws that protect you, to have access to fellow widows who have gone through the journey. As they share their story, let it not be a story that you then take to social media without context, but let it be a story to strengthen you, to take other widows along with you. Begin to identify like-minded people, begin to identify newly widowed women and take them along, let them know what is accessible and available for them. Provide them with support. So with each setback, I truly believed personally that when I began to connect to my inner person, I came out stronger. And my message to you today is for you to begin to build yourself. It's all good and well to come here and share my sad story. All of us begin to compare. Yo, esaki story singono. Do you know what I went through? But let's rather come out victorious in all of this, because widowhood does not define us. And it's important that as you recognize this, you will be able to recognize the support that's provided to you. You'll be able to acknowledge that you are stronger than your circumstances. And in that strength, what do we do for ourselves? It's important to know who you are and whose you are. That opportunity gave me courage to go and ask my family, how are things done? The situation about a covenant being formed, therefore you can't undo this. My family said, our ancestors don't recognize inyong and abuse. And that gave me courage. So sometimes it's important for you to give context in the things that we believe. So I then decided at the time that getting to know who I am and whose I am means I connect to the God in me. And I urge you to do the same. Connect to the God in you, because as you connect to the God in you, you begin being healed. Scripture gives us so much power. I don't care who you believe in, what name you give God, whether it's Allah or whoever you name God as or you believe God as. That power gives you power that no man or woman can take from you. And as you begin to do this, you begin to fulfill the highest form of humanity. Because when you show up as this power that is mindful, that is aware, that knows that it has power. And that is going to lead you to being of service to fellow humans. In being of service to fellow humans, I'd like to read this quote by Martin Luther King Jr., who said, open quote, everybody can be great because everyone can be of service. Everyone can serve. You don't have to have a college degree. I know we are at UNISA, they would rather you have a college degree. You don't have to have good grades. I know they would rather you do good grades or a degree in order for you to serve. You just need to agree to serve. So this step is not a selfish step in you getting to know what is it that I can do for myself in order to service humanity. You only need a heart full of grace And that is what sets us apart from people who just build a double story, triple story in their pain. In order for you to be healed and move on, take heed to what Martin Luther King Jr. said, and I close quote. They weren't listening, don't worry. You were the only one who was listening. So you need to then use knowledge as your power. Use knowledge as a tool, as your power. Use the spoken word as your weapon. And I would like this message to go more onto newly widowed men and women. Because, I'm seeing males, I'm hoping that maybe some of you are widowers, and you would like to do better in your environment, in your community. One of the steps that you take is just excelling and producing quality in everything that you do. Believe it is possible for you to do better for your community and do exactly that. As you discover qualities about yourself, it's interesting how it leads you to other parts where you can excel. So many years later, when I turned 32, I believed I was healed. I believed it was time for me to move on. Met a fate that led me to testing HIV positive when I believed in love again. So life will happen. It will not spare you just because you shed tears of being a widow. There comes a time, especially when you're a young widow, there comes a time when you believe that it's time for me to move on. You'll be scared of loving again. But then, comes a time when you're thinking, maybe I should try this relationship thing again. And things will happen. I mean, that relationship, I poured my all into it, believing, let me move on. And unfortunately, I was gifted with HIV. And I call it a gift because it gave me a new lease in life, gave me a beautiful baby daughter 25 years ago. And when you begin to look at the positives in the negatives, it's incredible how your mind shifts. Some of you, when I tell you my age, you wonder, why you snuddy wrinkles? I've gone past the 50th floor. I'm heading to the 60th floor now. And I look at my age mates sometimes and I wonder, what happened? It's because whatever challenge we face, we then build stories of hardship, stories of pain. So I acknowledged and recognized that things happen not just to you, but they happen through you for greater good of humanity. And when I connected to that, it's incredible how I serve my purpose now. And my purpose started many years ago when I was born and became a street kid and became a teen mom. Like, so many things happened. And when I put all these things into context, because I said I know who I am, I know whose I am, it takes you to greater heights that you may not have connected to had you focus on your pain. So I urge you, as a newly widowed human, that when in doubt, remember that you are the reason why God gave us grace. Because God is after the hearts of those who are aching. So as your heart aches at the time, package it, that this I don't understand, this I don't have strength for. Put it in the box of for God to deal with. And trust me, God does deal with these issues, because today, all that wealth that was with that family disappeared. And today, they are in my payroll as one of the families that I feed, because my daughter comes from that family. So I honor their ancestors by plowing back and making sure that they are taken care of, because God takes care of me. And this happens when you recognize that the things that are attached to where we married, those are just things. Some of us, we found these things. He dies and you inherit and everybody is looking at how you're going to spend the money. When you ask God's guidance in spending the money, trust me, it leads you to places that purpose you, as opposed to just spending it for show off. Things we go through. So your worldview shifts to that of just servicing humanity and recognizing, acknowledging that these things were not happening to me, but they were happening through me so that humanity is served. So God's grace will always be sufficient for you. God's grace will bring those things back, and as it says in the Bible, pressed down, shaken beyond measure. So in your weaknesses, in your brokenness, in your weariness, God says, be still and know that I am. How many of us do that? We come to a session like this, it's more about just, expanding my pain. That which you focus on grows all the time. When we come into a forum like this, for once, let me focus on being grateful for life. That I woke up like this. It's bright, it's shiny. I am here. I could have been a cockroach or a fly, and I'm me, right? How often do we celebrate that? How often do we celebrate the fact that there's somebody who's crying, who's been chucked out? You're sitting at UNISA's auditorium. One that, dialogues are heard by doctors and professors. And you, in your splendor, you are here. And you are here to celebrate with us this day. Because we are not victims, we refuse. And I urge you to love and value yourself through this journey. Because when you love and value yourself, no one is going to dictate and tag you with their kind of value for who you are. Whoever you say you are, I believe you. If you say I'm useless, I'm worthless, I believe you, the universe believes you, and you become exactly that. Nobody loves me. How about starting with loving self? Everybody keeps saying nasty things to me. What are you saying to you? Because it's not often what they say to you, it's what you respond to. If I call you a monkey and you don't have a tail, why are you getting upset? Unless that's what you're telling her, you're telling him. Because sometimes people confirm that what you are already saying about yourself. So when you love and value yourself, love and value your time. There are 3 B's that I'd like to share with you that I practice every morning without fail. And this is why some of you, we enter into a room, I bet you, until you practice this, people will look at me more than they look at you. Because you enter the room as though it's doing you a favor. Next time when you enter a room, enter so that the room looks at you and be like, my goodness, who's she? Who is he? Because you enter having said the 6 B's. I am beautiful, believe it. And brothers, it's important to say I'm beautiful. Because you can't acknowledge and recognize what you don't know, what you don't have. So when beauty starts within, you'll be able to see beauty. It takes one to notice one. I am bold because you're going to make those bold decisions. They will come into your home, spend a whole week, like be able to say, but fully Saturday, why are you still here? Go to your home and come back on the day of the funeral. That breakfast, lunch, supper is costly. Unless you're going to pay for it, then you can stay. Be bold and make those decisions. Lock your cupboards. Because some are not there out of kindness and wanting to give you sympathy. Some are there, but the t-shirt, after the funeral, all gone. So make sure that you have a will. As a couple, if you can't talk about a will, then you shouldn't be married to one another. So I say I am beautiful, I am bold, I am beloved, I am bright, and I'm brave. This dictates my day. When I leave home, I am beautiful. I look at that mirror, I am beautiful, I am bold, I'm beloved, I am bright, and I'm brave. You may ask yourself, how did I get to this? Because the last statement, after having said the 6 P's, I said I'm out to change the world. And trust me, the universe then feeds into what I have dictated my life to being, out to change the world. Let me tell you how I'm changing the world. So I came from a broken home. Mom and dad had divorced, and as children, we had to figure ourselves out, and I ended up in the streets. So today, one of my ministries is ensuring that I'm building relationships so that people can love each other right. But you can't love the next person if you don't love self. Having been homeless has given me power to use my networks to negotiate that people have homes. I work with Habitat for Humanity and other NGOs to ensure that people have homes and not shacks. Being a teen mom, I'm now a sought-after speaker to build young people's character. One of our programs is with Higher AIDS. It used to be Higher AIDS, it's now Higher Health, where we speak to young people in colleges and universities, build their character, because it is character that will set you apart when challenges affect you. Being widowed, not to be a victim, but it has led me to a ministry on how we empower widows to make decisions that serve them. When you have to. And because now it's you and your children. No one's going to feel sorry for you when all that money is gone. But when it comes out, everybody will have a need. Be selfish for once. I tested HIV positive 25 years ago. To some, it may be a tragedy, but that landed me into platforms where I never thought I'd be. And how that was born, I was given an assignment to come and give a talk in Ngqeshe. This is called a great place where kings and queens come and have conversations. I was invited to just come and speak to traditional leaders about HIV, gave that speech my all. When I finished, people started ululating and clapping. I knew I had done well, but that applaud was just too much. And as I looked towards my far right, the shine was no longer on me. Everybody was looking at Madiba entering the room. Of course, I was upset that he stole my shine. Madiba Maro. So he enters the stage and he says, I have nothing to say. Griselda is light for the world to see. Now I was ready to receive that message, because that message could have easily landed on the Griselda who lived in the streets, the Griselda who was a teen mom written off by society, the Griselda who was a widow. So when opportunity comes, you must be ready, always. So when Madiba said you are light for the world to see, I was ready to receive that. The next day, international press had our speech, our picture. Not only did he hug, he also gave me a smoochie, a father-daughter kiss. Please, let's not take it that far. And whispered in my ear and said, you look like somebody I know. So both of us laughed so loud, and that picture, as we were laughing, made international press. And that's how Positive Talk Services, as a ministry, as a business, that's how it started. So wherever you are, always be ready. Preparation meets opportunity, and you'll only seize it when you are ready. So that disease gave me opportunities that I never thought would be given to me, because I used words and knowledge as my power. Science was saying in 2 years you'd be dead. And when I focused on Ghana, who's my creator? God is, right? And when I went back to inquire, so as my creator, is it time for us? And God said, not until the fat lady sings. I still have so much to achieve through you. And we are on a journey to change the world, me and God. I was persecuted, but that led me to being the voice of reason in broadcasting. At some point, I was broke when they packed everything and put it outside the yard. But today, I'm busy building generational wealth so that my grandchildren and their grandchildren don't inherit dikoloto. Lo tshaba mashonisa. God changed my story, ladies and gentlemen, and God can change your story as well. I was saved by grace through faith. You cannot access the grace without believing. So I do believe that all of us have access to this. For me, Mercy said yes. And Mercy can say yes to you too. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Canada. Thank you very much. It's here. You want me here? Oh, okay, fantastic. It's amazing, quite amazing. It's amazing how your speech traverses between all different kinds of things that you can think about in life. Culture, personal hardships, different kinds of victories, reaffirmation, motivation. I mean, some of us here only began to hear words like, oh, you are handsome, when we turned 40, you know, because there's something there's something about turning 40 that really brings the best out of you, you know. And yes, and for all those years, we hardly heard those words, like, you are handsome, you know, the idioms of masculinity. You hardly ever hear a man saying, I love you, you know, saying that to another man. So the way in which you capture the essence of all those things, the ability to actually endure all these struggles and yet emerge and be the person that you are today. And I think it is precisely for that reason that, you know, you are here today and you've been to all kinds of places that you've been to, and we admire you. And I mean, clearly, whatever the magic that Madiba passed on to you continues to, you know, impact all of us today. And so for that, we thank you very much. We appreciate your presence here, and we really look forward to continue working with you in the future. Dr. Duncan, I would like to proceed and maybe just invite our colleague, Dr. Shandu, to... It's very unfortunate that you were not here, because your talk was going to maybe sort of be a response to the remarks by our keynote speaker. But that being the case, I would still want you to come and share with us your journey with this particular program. Thank you. Let's welcome Dr. Shandu, ladies and gentlemen.
Kitlao bagadiatla kitlari hallelujah.
Tla senkenya Jehovah. Greetings, good morning, and thank you very much for this opportunity, Program Director. I'm just so honored to be in this place, and I'm sorry I missed part of the talk, but I was standing outside and I was feeling ashamed, and I was feeling nervous, and I was feeling awkward because I was thinking, do I walk in during the presentation or do I just stand outside? You know that feeling like you come to class late and you're not sure, and finally you decide to come in and the teacher says, thank you very much for joining us so early for tomorrow. Can you tell us more about what I've been teaching about? So I apologize that I decided to wait. But I'm grateful for this opportunity. So basically, today I just wanted to talk about the multi, inter, and transdisciplinarity of the concept of widowhood. And the way we're going to do that is we're just going to look at the past programs that we've done as WISA, WISA, Widowhood Issues in Southern Africa, in the past few years, and just surveying the programs of our previous years and the contents thereof, but also the discussions around WISA. And why do we do this? We want to juxtapose, we want to put the programs we have organized and presented, and we want to compare them to some of the preliminary findings of our research in WISA. You'll have to pardon me. My presentation is on that laptop, and that laptop is a headache to connect to presentation. So I want, Program Director, how much time do I have? A fair amount of time. I like that. That's a gentleman. That's a man's man. He does not want to upset a lady because you don't know how much is fair. So you're leaving it to me to decide. All right, so what I will do, ladies and gentlemen, is I will not take this presentation chronologically to say in the year 2019, 2020, 2021. But what I will do is I will just provide an overview of what our programs have been like, right? So we're looking at our programs, and by program, I mean the program of an event, like the program that we have for today. So, so we are looking at the commonalities, the threads with our programs, and we want to see if indeed we have been transdisciplinary. In other words, we see one discipline growing into another discipline, right? So what started as a humanities/psychology discipline in us, in Dr. Danke mainly, wanting to understand what she had been through and wanting to support psychologically and emotionally other women, then grew into another discipline of finance, economic and management sciences, and it grew into another discipline of law that is transdisciplinary. And then we have interdisciplinary, where two disciplines merge to become or to build a new thing, right? So we've seen a cross-pollination of disciplines, but we've seen areas where different disciplines merge to become one. Our programs have tried, I don't know if we succeeded, but we endeavored to look at the concept, right, of widowhood holistically. What do we mean? We looked at the widowed figure holistically. I remember in one of the years, one of my presentations was the different quadrants of a human being, a person, and specifically a widow. So we looked at the emotional part of the person. We looked at the cognitive part of the person. We looked at the physical part of the person, and then we looked at the spiritual part of the person. So some of our programs have had presentations from medical doctors, and we looked at the anatomy of pain. And Dr. Maseko, who is also a professor of medicine at Wits University, he trains medical doctors. He broke down, he deconstructed the anatomy, the physiology, and he kept moving between those two words, the anatomy and the physiology of pain. What happens to your body physically when you experience loss, when you experience trauma? So he spoke about the adrenaline. He spoke about how your heart responds. I remember he mentioned something like, when someone says, I have a broken heart, they are not just referring to a picture of a red heart with cracks. They are literally talking about, he said, physiologically, the heart takes strain when you are crying, when you are brokenhearted. And he talked about how the arteries and the veins respond, how the pumps of the heart and the valves and the vena cavas, he was just illustrating that pain is a physical thing. And then he said, some people, after experiencing loss or trauma, and I think one of the participants did attest to that she started experiencing physical ailments. Others spoke about, they started tonsillitis, asthma, and these are the physiological effects of pain. And then we had another one, I've forgotten her name, she spoke about the triggers, the physiological triggers, right? In social media, people are like, hey, I'm triggered. But they spoke about the physiological triggers of pain and loss. So that was one, the physical, the physiological. And then we've had presentations from lawyers, right? The legal side of widowhood. Because for the longest time, whenever we thought about widowhood, we just thought of the black cloths and tears. Very few people thought about the legal side. What happens to the widowed figure and her property before and after widowhood? And what happens to, all those legal aspects like letter of executorship, right? How on earth would we grow up being taught about letters of executorship? Which mother, when they swaddle their baby, when they feed them, when they change their nappies, say, my child, one day you will have to deal with the letter of executorship. This is what it is. When they listen to Coco Melon, which child dances and say, M is for marriage, L is for letter of executorship. It's a new concept that you meet only when you lose your husband, at a time when you are crying and you are confused, right? So they dealt with that. They talked about estate management. And they talked about, discussed different types of marriages. Did you know that the marriage, when it's lobola and they give you machali and you kikiza, that kind of marriage automatically by default is in community of property? I never knew that until we had those presentations. And then we've had presenters from economic and management sciences who spoke to us about budgets, because Tina, we just budget for the family and food. But then suddenly you've lost your husband, and abo mama, they keep saying, usuga lo mhlobo uphelile, brown sugar is finished. So how do you manage your finances during preparations for the funeral, and after. And then we've had psychologists tackling various aspects of the psychology of loss, where we spoke about grieving, the grieving process, the stages of grief, denial, anger, and bargaining, and so on. And they've spoken to us about forgiveness. How do you forgive him for leaving you? Like me, I was 24, I was pregnant, and I was very angry with my husband. I mean, how do you do this? You drop me at work at UNISA, and then you have a car accident and you die. How do I even explain this to my unborn child, right? Forgiving the departed, forgiving the in-laws if they were not nice to you, forgiving yourself because others, maybe the husband was ill and they delayed to take him to the hospital, and now they are dealing with guilt. How do you forgive yourself? How do you get over that? And so those were the types of forgiveness. And then what I really loved, as the years progressed with our programs, we sort of transitioned, wherein around the beginning of the program, we were looking at listening to stories, which is important because some ladies don't have an outlet for talking about their pain. So we had a space for talking about pain, and then we had empowerment sessions, like I just said, legal, psychology, physiological, dietitians, what's her name, dealt with cancers, different types of cancers, right? And then we moved from, we are crying with you, let's give you space, and then we went to, let's empower you now. Let's give you a toolkit. Like taking care of yourself. Those with the spiritual stance spoke about reconnecting with God, because a whole lot of us, when this happens, we're angry with God and we're separated from him, and we say, well, you know what? If this is how you're going to treat me, then that's fine. I don't need you. Right? How do we reconnect? And then others spoke about African spirituality, some of the rites that are done, right? Inyongo and whatever, what does it mean? And then we also transitioned to a space where we want the ladies who have experienced loss to rediscover themselves. I remember last year one of the talks was, how do you rise from the ashes? Right, so you're finding yourself, you're beginning to find yourself. So I'm just giving you this overview, and this is what we've done. And then we went and collected data, and we found that, well, this is preliminary data. The findings are there are different categories and types of support that the widowed figure will require at some point or the other. Remember the presentations, this side? And now the findings say the ladies, and remember we just spoke about ladies because Caesar and I are ladies, so that's how it started. But we will be, expanding to talk about or talk to or engage with men who have also experienced widowhood. So the ladies say at some point they needed spiritual support. They needed to rebuild themselves and find themselves, whether in churches or names. But now my in-laws want me to take my stepchildren, and they want to give this house to my stepchildren. What does the law say about that? So legal, check. And then data also spoke of the finances, the financial aspect of being widowed. I mean, maybe he passed away leaving debt. How do I get out of that? He passed away leaving R1 million. How do I plan for that? I mean, just yesterday we spoke about gifting. That if you donate a house or you donate money to someone, SARS will tax you 20% of what you are donating. So some widows have a coping mechanism of giving things away. They give away cars. I don't want this car. It reminds me of my husband. I'm giving away this house. I'm giving away, without thinking that there are financial implications of donating something to the church and so on. And then, so check finances, and others have deep-rooted psychological needs, emotional needs. So check. And then others have physiological needs. Ever since my husband died, I'm not able to sleep, or my BP is not controllable. I've developed this illness. How do I deal with it? So physiologically checked. So what has happened then? We have seen a convergence of what we thought academically, the phenomenon, right? We're getting into science now. The phenomenon of widowhood. Academically, this is how we're treating it. But then data now says, indeed, we were on the right track. But then data is giving us additional issues, such as issues that we never really covered that much, like cultural, African religions. Remember, Caesar, the other day you invited a, what do we call him? Like a medium. Yes, I've forgotten his name. A medium, a spiritual healer who was able to assist the ladies just to reconnect with the departed. So what I like about the project is it doesn't really discriminate or judge. We sort of meet the ladies at the point of their need, right? Because others would never even consult a medium, but others would never even set foot in church. So we try to balance those. So I guess in conclusion, how much time have I spent? An hour? Okay. So what is happening is, as I conclude, as the WISA project, we try to cater for the needs of the ladies, yes, in the WhatsApp groups that we've had, in the in-person meetings that we've had, but we are trying to merge the world of academia with the real world out there, so that we do not conduct research and publish papers in high-ranking accredited journals for those papers to just remain wherever. But we want work that is applicable, that someone out there can use. I mean, of late, Caesar, you've branched into human rights, widowhood and human rights. And so that's what we want to do. And we are really grateful that we see that convergence. We see how our communities inform research and how research in turn assists with communities and also help us to know what to focus on as we assist our communities. Thank you very much. And as a parting shot, can I just say how excited I am that I'm standing next to giants here. So if you were taking pictures, you might have noticed that I kept moving like you didn't notice. Yeah, but those who were taking pictures did notice. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. Program Director.
Thank you so very much, Dr. Shandu. Thank you. It has been an absolute pleasure to travel with you in the last 2 days that we were out there doing this work. It's quite fascinating, at least for me, to see the inadequacies of our education system, I guess, or maybe I should call it schooling, because as we begin to navigate that distinction between schooling and education and learning and so forth, you begin to realize that, you know, the moment education becomes schooling, the moment it becomes part of the state, controlled by the state, funded by the state, run by the state, then it sort of marginalizes all the other things that we should be learning. And that has been my biggest fascination. Because, I mean, as educators, as scholars, we do know that much of what we learn outside the domains of the institutionalized settings of the state, like schools and universities and colleges and so forth and so forth. And I'm saying this precisely because I am perplexed that we don't necessarily, within our schooling system, get to learn about these very important things that you guys are, that we are doing, that all of us here are doing, you know. And that really fascinates me. And if our schooling system is not going to teach us that, who will, right? And at what point are we able, from within this particular space, to influence policy that says, hey, curriculum reform must address these issues? You know, there has to be a platform within our education system to deal with these issues. I mean, thank you so much once again. Just one more round of applause for Dr. Shandu, ladies and gentlemen. I'm always fascinated by, you know, people who teach English and how they speak and how they... That we can open up the floor for everyone to engage. Thank you. A round of applause for one of our founders.
Sister Tuli, can you sing for us while we are fixing this?
You didn't say.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, colleagues. I just want to do the formal presentation. The past 2 days were just casual. I like to engage. That's why I did not present slides, but because we are talking to a different audience, I decided to put up the slides so that you can see where we are coming from with the project. As Dr. Shandu Petla has mentioned, we are coming a long way with this project. Dr. Shandu Petla is actually the deputy. I'm the research leader. She is the deputy leader in the project. So, like I said before, it started in 2019. That's when we started to celebrate the International Widows Day at UNISA. So this year, the International Widows Day is going to be on a Sunday. That is why we are having the events before Sunday, because Sundays will be in different places. So over the years, we've been reading a lot of literature review. We've been writing about widows, because doing the presentations, we need to read a lot in order for us to understand. So we have realized that there is a conflict between religion, our cultures, and the constitution. So the other things, like Dr. Tuli has mentioned, there are so many disciplines that are involved in widows. But it's amazing when you talk to colleagues and you tell them that I'm passionate about this scholarship of widows. They're like, what? To them, it's like, I can't join this thing. You want my husband to die? Or, It's a scary thing. Guys, it's part of life. Widowhood is a rite of passage. We were born, we became teenagers, we became adults. One day we'll die. Someone will become a widow if you are married, or a widower if you are a female. The man will become a widower, yes, when he loses the wife. So it's part and parcel of our life. It's a given, especially when we are married. So this widowhood scholarship that we have started at UNISA, it is a multidisciplinary study. It is an interdisciplinary study. It is also an intradisciplinary study, okay? So when you look at the definition of multidisciplinary study, it means combining several academic disciplines. But when I'm reading these things, it's just saying one and the same thing, but they're using the different concepts. Anyway, yeah, we have a lot of disciplines. We have a lot of people that you are working with in this project. We have people who are coming from myself and the other colleagues who are coming from the education space. We've got people that are coming from the law department. We have people who are passionate about writing about Ubuntu as a philosophy. We have Sis Tuli, who's coming from the English department. We have other colleagues from the finance. We have Prof. Baloyi and other colleagues who are coming from theology and pastoral care. We have Professor Ngulube, who's been mentoring us as well. He's coming from the information science. We have other colleagues who are coming from the social work and psychology. Dr. Met is coming from psychology of education. So outside UNISA, we have also partnership with Dr. Nki. Dr. Nki is having a practice in Equestria. So those who attended the first seminar, she presented today. So she's been with us ever since we started our seminars. So here we also we talk about aging, we talk about dying, we talk about life, nutrition, a lot of things. But it's really amazing that colleagues don't see that almost all the niches can come into this space, because widowhood is just a space. We are talking about people who have lost their lives once. So these people need to be fed. A lot of things can go in there. So everyone in this room can find a niche in this space. So, but when we look then, according to the UNISA Catholic niche areas, there are two which I think we are talking to. Is the feminist, womanist Busadi theorization. We also have the health studies, because we talk, like Dr. Tuli has explained, we talked about why do we feel the pain. Because when you lose your husband, you feel like the heart is broken. Who has felt that? You can talk. Open that mic and talk. Let's have a conversation. I thought my heart was broken. So I used to go to the doctor and check my heart every 6 months, because I was like, I can't lose it. Every 6 months I was there checking it. Then I realized my heart is fine. It was the pain. But the doctor, because he wanted money, he didn't tell me it was the pain. He just kept on checking my heart. It was I realized that no, I'm okay. It's the pain I'm feeling. So how did you feel, sis?
Thank you very much. My name is Tandiwe, not Pindile. Tandiwe. The pain was home. It was home. And going through that pain of wanting to know how do you cope going forward, then the environment comes in and ensures that that pain goes beyond the normal pain you will have when you lose someone. That pain took me to the stage where I did not understand anything. Much as I thought I'm a gender activist, but I was lost in bewilderment at the time. And the other pain that went deep into my heart was, how dare you? How dare you? At this time, it should have been the other time, but you chose this time. And you made me to be part of you. And being part of you, everything I do, you are in my head all the time. Everything that I think of, you are part of it. Then you just decide to go. Because at the time you don't think, God came in wanting to take this person. You just think, this is betrayal. We did not vouch for this when we started. This is sabotage. When are we Gwala, you are a coward. You leave me to go on when you are resting. For me, is you are resting. Mina, I'm left with all this. And the pain becomes worse when you come to contact with these people we called sister-in-laws. Because at the time you are in pain, you don't even think, how do I bury him, because you were not prepared for that. But there are people who are clever, better than you, who would run with it whilst you are busy trying to understand the pain you are going through. Noguti, how do you navigate out of it?
Siyabonga. Is there anyone who wants to share, Mama? If you want to share, we are not forcing anyone, remember? Okay, let's move on. So I was just showing you where the health aspect comes in. So when we look at the Sustainable Development Goals, we are actually, this morning I discovered we are actually covering 3. It's gender equality, which is our main, and then we have the good health and well-being. We also have the reduced inequalities. So under the reduced inequalities, I've chosen 10.3 and 10.6, that this is where we fit in with this research. So the theory that I like using when I'm writing my papers or doing the presentation is the intersectionality theory. It was started by a lawyer in America who was worried about how the black people were treated, because their cases they never win. It doesn't matter how serious the case was. So she started this theory, and then she said, the reason these black people are not winning their cases in the High Court is because, one, they are black, and then some of the issues that they are having, they fall in the cracks of feminists. So with this study of widowhood, I don't see myself as a feminist, and yet people are boxing me as a feminist. I don't think I'm that. I'm trying to fight for the rights of the widows. I see myself as somebody who is at an advantage because here at work we've got the platforms where we can talk about these issues, where we can invite other ladies like the widows to come here and also we talk to them. And also I hate the word widow, by the way. So if you hear me using the word lady, just know that I'm still talking about the widows. Because the word widow, it's also got its own stigma. You know, I don't like it, but it's fine. That's a conversation for another day. So then when I look at the papers that I've written so far, is that the issues that we are struggling with when we are talking about the widowhood issues is the issue of gender. Of course, I'm a woman. That is why I'm called a widow. And then the issue of race also comes in, because in most cases, we don't hear much of this drama in the other ethnic groups like the coloreds, the whites. These issues are dominant in our black cultures. So the other thing that is problematic is culture and the traditions, the way we socialize when we're growing up. Because one, we're told not to challenge elders. We're told not to ask too much. We were told to accept things. So these are the things, when I say in this group, we are not challenging culture, but we are saying, let us revisit. I'm glad Dr. Cresselda here also mentioned that. Let us revisit our cultures. Are they still really relevant in the 21st century or not? Because culture evolves. Why is it that this treatment of widows is still not changing? Instead of changing, we are seeing new rules being introduced. So this is my biggest challenge. And also the other challenge I'm having with our cultures is that they are not written down. If today I'm given the power that I'm the elder of the family, I must talk to somebody, I will say something that I believe is true or what I want to see happening. So what are we doing with that as families? I don't know. It's something that you need to talk about. And then we also have the issue of religion. Seated here, we go to different churches. So in other churches, they ill-treat widows. But I was very happy I was in Soweto, the group of ladies that were with yesterday. I visited their church, and then I had a conversation with their pastor. I asked the pastor, how is he treating his widows? The pastor said, here we are all human beings. There is no widow, there is no widower. If a person has lost their husband, I just allow them to go through their cultural practices, but I expect them to come back to church. If the person is in a choir, I expect the person to continue with their roles in the church. I was like, wow. But the literature I'm getting is a different story. So we have few churches who do not have stigma when it comes to the issue of widowhood. Then the other issue that we have picked while we are doing this research is that most widows don't understand their human rights as they are stipulated in Chapter 2 in the Bill of Rights. Because if they knew their rights, I don't think they were going to allow anyone to abuse them. So I think, colleagues, we still have to do a lot of work in this space. So now, this is our third year in this project. We had a funding. So this is our last year with the funding. So what we have done is that the academic book chapters that we are running as we are speaking, we are also writing a self-help booklet for the widows. We are trying to advise them that before you sit on the mattress, if you want to sit, make sure that everything is in order. You have the letter of authority with you. You have your husband's ID somewhere close to you, all the keys of the cars, safe, whatever that you need, it must be very close to you. Nobody should take those that important keys away from you. Because what we have learned in the past is that they will put the widow in a seclusion room. And then when the widow is in that room, a lot is happening. Dishes disappears. The cars disappears. You know, even the title deeds. You just wonder, but why are these people here? You know, I like what Sis Griselda said here, to say, chase them. Tell them the funeral is next week. Come on Friday, so that you can have a peace of mind. Because they will empty the cupboards. And the wardrobe. You know, I remember somebody told me that they wanted the underwears of the husband. Dead husband, what are you doing with underwears? You see? So we need to understand that. So as we are busy with this project, we then come to realize that this project is not only for widows, but people, once they see the word widowhood, they're like, I'm not a widow, I'm not going there. But this project is also addressing life issues which are affecting all of us. Like when you look at the issues of marriages, the first marriage, all of us, we didn't know what type of marriage we're getting into. Only now, when I'm having this project, I'm like, okay, it's a contract, there are rights. Oh, okay, you know. So some of you are still preparing to get married. You need this information. Some of you are inside the marriages. You need to understand. Like we have learned in this project that it doesn't matter what type of marriage you are currently having. If you feel that it's not going to service you, you can actually negotiate with your partner and change it so that it becomes what you want. So also, here we talked about, we are talking to young widows, because some of them, they lose their husband when they are 21. You don't expect that person that they will never remarry again. They will be married. So the conversations that we are having with them, we hope they are helping them to get more information that will prepare them to remarry and marry wise, because now they are coming with a lot of assets, you know. So now I want to challenge all of us, especially women, that let us be careful about how we engage, especially when we are given a position that you are now an elderly person, address there's a makoti coming in the family. What are you saying to this young bride? I have seen a video in social media where they were applying Vaseline. It looks like Vaseline. Let me just say an ointment on the widow, on the lady, on the bride. And then this person was saying, yeah, you must keep quiet, you know, rubbing the lips rough. This is not your father's house. You are in a new. I'm like, geez, this woman, why did she allow this? I was not going to allow it. Because from the way they welcome you, they're actually showing you how they are going to treat you. And then again, we tell the young brides that they must keep secrets. They must do this and that. You know what we have experienced in this project is that we have men who have lost their husbands maybe more than 20 years ago, but they have never told anyone about the pain that they are going through. was only this project that gave them that opportunity to cry, to tell us those deep, deep stories. I think 2 weeks ago, I was talking to another widow who is still angry because the man did wrong before he died. I was like, Mama, are you aware of what you are doing to yourself? You are going to be sick. The man is gone. Forgive him. Then I had to coach her on how to go about doing the forgiveness. So there is a lot that women are going through. But because culture has told us, ukuthi asikhulumi, izibi sifaka under the carpet. We don't have to tell the world. There is no such thing. If something is not sitting well with you, just voice it out so that you can get help. Because when you are quiet, we think all is well. And also as women, we have trained ourselves to be fake. We fake too much. Once we wear our makeups and lipsticks and put our silly toes, walk high as if nothing is going wrong in our lives, nobody will predict that something is going wrong in your life. So we need to voice out, colleagues. We need to tell somebody else. So these are just our concerns. Our money is coming to the end this year, so we need to start looking for funding elsewhere. So like I've said, and I keep on saying, there's a lot that we still need to do in this space. So in closing, I will say, can we be kind to each other? Can we be kind to the widows? Can we be kind to them because we don't know what they are going through? Can we try to understand before we judge or before we criticize somebody else? Sometimes we don't know about the relationship that the widow had with the late husband. We are just looking at the action of the widow. It is possible. There's a lady who shared a story that my husband, when he died, he was with a side chick. I had to go fetch him there and take him to the hospital. How do you think that widow is mourning? Then you have a widow who was seated next to the bed. He saw the guy dying. He understood, I saw him die. And then you have another widow who's inside the house cooking or waiting for the man to bring food. Then he doesn't come. The only thing you get is a message that come and identify. How do you think these three people are going to react or mourn their husband? It's going to be different. So people mourn differently. That's what we have also learned in the project. And also the mourning itself, the process is not linear. Others, they start by being angry. They do so many things. There's denial. They will be calling their husband thinking he's still coming back. They are not mad. It's the process that they are going through. So we need to understand that. We also need to teach ourselves to understand what it is involved in the widowhood space so that we can be able to support them, so that we can be able to be kind to them. So now, we can also make a lot of difference in the lives of the widows by becoming kind to them, by supporting them. I want to also emphasize what Dr. Cressida mentioned here. We are all here for a purpose. You need to find your purpose. I don't want to believe that we are all here to cause havoc. There is that small bit that you can do in your community or somewhere where we are staying, which can make a whole lot of difference. When we started the project, it was just a small thing, but now we are spreading it. And we still feel that we have not done enough. We still need to do more. So that's what I'm asking you colleagues to do. Let's just try and see like find our own purposes. In conclusion, I would like to thank all the people who have supported us in this journey. I would also like to thank UNISA for funding this unique project. I had struggles when I was applying for money because they didn't understand what I want to do. They're like, you're in education, there must be education, there must be. I'm like, no, I can't squeeze education here. It doesn't fit. But what I'm going to do, it is education. So yeah, but anyway, at the end, they understood what I wanted to do. I would also like to thank all the widows, all the ladies who trusted us with their painful and sensitive personal stories. I would also like to thank all the community leaders. We also work in Makapanstad, the king and the community leaders there. They've opened their hands and allowed us to work in that space. And all the presenters with their expertise and their stories as well, because they also tell their stories. And all the radio stations and newspapers who wrote about our work. And lastly, the UNISA team for supporting this idea. Thank you very much, colleagues.
Another round of applause, ladies and gentlemen, for Dr. Caesar. Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Dr. Caesar. These references to culture essentially remind me of, or in fact, I guess they just really invoke the anthropologist in me, in a sense that I am reminded of this wonderful book that I read, and I can assure you, that I've read a lot of books. It's a book by M.G. Smith. It's called The Study of Social Structure. And I'm saying this precisely because there's been a lot of reference made to culture. And I am reminded that, culture is fundamentally built around, it's just one part of the social structure. And the question is, the idea is if you want to change a particular aspect of culture, you have to fundamentally transmogrify the social structure. You have to challenge the roots that undergird this particular thing called culture. And what that means is you have to deal with the institutions, right? You have to deal with the institutions that support a particular culture, deal with the people who support a particular culture or a particular cultural practice, and so forth and so forth. That, for me, is very important. Because if you want to challenge culture and leave the process to the very institutions and the people who are supposed to be reshaping the culture, then you aren't doing enough. And in just my brief remarks, I want to make a quick reference to what I read when I was doing some work around genital female mutilation in the Sudan and other parts of Africa where that culture is being practiced. You know how certain institutions and people sort of massage change? And I will use an example of female genital mutilation. When activists started challenging this whole notion of women having to go through this, you know what happened? They moved from female genital mutilation to female genital cutting, right? It's a shift, but the modalities of that shift remain the same, right? And then the whole thing transitioned to the moment where it became female genital incisions, right? But you are still doing the exact same thing, drawing blood, right? And I don't want to get into the nitty-gritties of what happens with that blood and so forth and so forth. But again, as we open up, ladies and gentlemen, I think it is very important to reflect on all these complex issues that underpin, and help us sort of better understand the complex issues that widows grapple with on a day-to-day basis. Thank you so much. I will open up to the audience to comment and maybe very briefly share their stories, ask questions, and so forth and so forth. Merci beaucoup. Okay, anyone, ladies and gentlemen, who wants to comment? Yes. Yeah, you have a microphone, ladies and gentlemen. So you can just press and shoot, please. Yes, ma'am. If you don't mind introducing yourself and telling us who you are.
Good morning, colleagues. My name is Molebreng Sierrane. I'm from the Department of Law, the College of Law. Yes, thank you so much for this opportunity and the invitation. Actually, I started in 2018 writing my master's, and I was passionate about widowhood. And I found out that there is not much data, especially in South Africa, so I had to move away from that topic and get into the integration of bride in customary marriages. So thank you for this and the project, the books that you write in articles. I believe that in my next adventure of academic, I will use them. Thank you so much. And I have a question. My question, I don't know if you're familiar with the HP case where the in-laws denied the existence of the customary marriage. Yes. The widow there, well, then because he was questioned and she had to prove that she was indeed the bride of the deceased. What happened was that she brought to the court that she is indeed the valid wife and that she wanted to bury the husband as her right, burial rights. And the court denied her that on the grounds that of emphasizing that the Ubuntu philosophy. So I know how we can address the abuse of culture or practices, cultural rights. So how do we then approach or addressing the abuse of Ubuntu? Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. I think the question, maybe let's take a few and then I will note. I will note Ubuntu, the abuse of Ubuntu. That's the first one. Say.
Thank you very much. My name is Thomas. I'm from the College of Law. I lecture customary law. So I wanted to ask this question. There is a concept called ukungena. So ukungena means when a husband passed away, the brother must take over the wife and the family. So, and there's a concept called Ubuntu, which my sister spoke about. Ubuntu means humility. I'm a person through another person. So these two concepts, they're not inconsistent with each other. So can we really say that our customary laws and Ubuntu are in line with each other, even though that we say that we are Africans and we believe in humility, but does our customs that we do towards women, are they human enough, or are just concepts which we just pose to the world? So I just wanted to ask, based on that do these two concepts, are they in line with each other? Thank you.
I will refer the first question to Dr. Danke, and then the second question to you, Dr. Cressida, because you spoke very briefly about this at some point. Thank you.
The issue of the celebrities, I don't want to repeat their names. It made us to involve the law colleagues so that they can teach people about the marriage regimes and the rights within the different marriage regimes. So that is why we involve the law people after hearing that story. Colleagues, after death, things changes. Yesterday we were with this Sane Mbata. She said, I'm quoting her words, people change after death. Baya kujikela abantu. Ujike umamazala, the very person bompa itiya ajabula. Ati mdanam limnandi. The following day uzatubula lingane yami. But now, as widows, we need to understand that they are going through a pain. Now you are going through your own pain. But yours is different because this person was very close to you. He was your friend, your confidant, your sexual partner, etc., etc., etc. So it's more loss for you than them. But now they are going through a loss and pain. So when it comes to Ubuntu, that those concepts are being abused. Hence I'm saying, let us rethink our cultures. Because you cannot come to me and expect me to practice Ubuntu when it suits you and when you are going to benefit. If you want me to practice Ubuntu, let it be a 50-50, a win-win situation. Let us all win, you see. Then I'm also having another colleague who has who has joined this project. Unfortunately, he's busy. He wants to come and teach us about family disputes. In the past, we used to go under the trees. You know, we used to have family meetings. But now a small thing, we rush to the courts. Some of the things we can really address at home. Like we bring both families and like, no, you can't do this to my child, you know. But we rush to the court. So I don't know whether it's because we are educated, enlightened, or what. I really don't know. But when we look at culture again, like I keep on saying, there are things, culture in most cases, it doesn't favor a woman. If we look at the widowhood rights, most of them are imposed to the widow. And who is imposing them? It's a woman. Hence I was saying, Gubome here, let us think about what we are saying to the brides. Let us think about what we are saying to the widows. Thank you. I hope I've answered your question.
Thank you. Thank you for the question. Ubuntu is explained as traditional African teaching principles of community, respect, mutual respect, caring for one another, and so forth. But when you listen to the stories of widows, there's no Ubuntu practice there. In my own personal experience, when you have your father-in-law as amongst the people abazokungena, there's such a thing in African concept as inyala. Where I stand, that was inyala in the name of culture, which is unacceptable. So there's that blurred line. And as you said, Doc, that because it's not written, it depends on who wants to practice it, and it depends on what their intentions are. And most of the time, the intentions are selfish. And that's my response. I hope I answered your question.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much for those responses. Anybody else, ladies and gentlemen, who would like to come in? Mr. Nyati?
I'm here.
Oh, there's a hand
Thank
here.
you very much, Chair.
May I please start with him, and then you, ma'am, and then you, ma'am. Please proceed, Mr. Nyati.
Thank you very much, Bob Kambule. Mine is a comment, not necessarily a question, because this is a very significant project. It's a very powerful one, and it has a potential to assist not only the people who are at that stage of widowhood, but I'm thinking of a period prior to that. Because in our black cultures, in most cases, there are things we shy away from talking about. We don't want to talk about death, for instance. But the reality is, death is forthcoming to everyone. Whether you are healthy, you are sick or what, at one stage you'll have to pass on. It's a way of life. So it goes back to the issues of culture and religion. I want to weigh on that because the manner in which our mind is set is orientated is problematic in that when I am a male figure and I have a wife, the way I treat my wife may determine how my family will treat her when I depart. That's very important because some of us don't protect our women when we are still alive. For instance, on the issue that Dr. Griselda talked about, on the issue of, and my brother at the back, and the issue of Ugungena, it's not necessarily a culture. It's just a practice by few individuals who think you are going to take their son's money or what and spend it with other men out there. So what they want, in fact, they want to ensure that you don't take whatever that they think belongs here. But again, we have laws that say you were in a union with this person. So whatever that he left it for you to decide how you spend it. So now, the question is, what do we do when we are still alive to protect our wives? Because that is very important. We need to prepare for that day. Even if we think it's not something to talk about, we grow up in spaces where you say, don't talk about that, you are inviting it. That's purely nonsensical, because at the end of the day, it shall come. And when it comes, we need to be prepared for it. Why do we take funeral policies if we are not going to talk about death? Because the funeral policy prepares for death anyway. So we need to think about those things. So there should be a change in the way we think and in preparing for such things, that at one stage they are going to come. So we have a problem of people, when they want to do their silly things, they will hide under the banner of culture and say, our culture dictates that. When you'll find, honestly, they want to do nonsensical things. So there are things like that. And one issue which Dr. Danke talked about when she was projecting her slides, the issue of religion. It's very problematic when you find spiritualists, our leaders at church, in society, and so forth, are expected to play a pivotal role in protecting the vulnerable. And you find sometimes people are unfairly discriminated. I once went to a particular church where someone wearing inzilo had to, by the door, put your mat there, sit alone there. So everyone who comes in sees that, oh, this one has this. So when we grew up, we are told, this person who wears this should wake up at 4 a.m. and bath before sunrise, have her plate, this. Is it really what we should be doing? So there is a need for a change of our mindset and maybe revisiting these cultures. Who dictate these terms? To what extent are these things really authentic, or we are just doing it for the sake of doing, not necessarily adhering to Ubuntu? Because if there is no mutual respect, it can't be Ubuntu.
Thank you so much. Thank you very much, Mr. Nyati. Thank you for those remarks. Ma'am, over to you, please.
Thank you, Chair. I am the founder of a registered organization called Elite Widows Network. And when we started, we were thinking of widows. And a widow is me. I lost a husband. And that is the name I just got overnight. Now, I asked them a question, Guti. Now this widow, you carry that name up to when? And we know, Guti, a widow would be Abantu who got married to a magistrate, a home affairs. And a widow would also be Labo who are traditionally married. But we also have people who've taken a decision that they will partner. Kunalabo stay in partner. Then u partner when Ashona, am I a widow? And if mina nguthandiwe, I get married next year, do I remain to be called a widow? I just want to be clarified. Would this widow Jenny name goes up to where? And my second question, and I'm going to direct it to Dr. Crisalda, because I know Umamalo is very, very passionate getting to the gender-based violence. My understanding is the situation that we come across. And Ngiyabonga ulo baba all spoke about dada to teach the families to respect the wife the way he respects umfazi wakhe. Now, for me, this is gender-based violence. And I find it not lost somewhere within the programs, GBV. And Dr. Sizagele spoke about revisiting issues of culture. And Ubaba have just mentioned one thing that is critical to me, Guti, some of the things are not culture but practices. And why I'm directing this to Umama, you also spoke about acquiring knowledge, yet we know Guti, we don't have data. And thank you very much when Dr. Sizagele, you guys are trying to collate information and document it. That will actually assist. But to ensure that we get those things within the programs, GBV. And there's this thing, I don't know whether it is documented, but I got it. Maybe I did not pay attention to it, Uguti. When you stay with this man past 6 months, automatically, he is bound to share with you whatever. Can we be clarified there?
Okay, maybe let's take your question or comment, Mama. You can even use mine for a second. This one is very exclusive.
Thank you. Morning, afternoon, everything. My dear sisters and young brothers. Allow me to say these other things in my own language. Are you going to hear me? Yes. Okay. Thank you. Ke Matilda Onane, Pilusa from Moretele Sutelo. Where were you there on Wednesday? Nakinali a big problem ya gore. This setso, I can get on a tradition in English. I can setso sena. It's not really a setso because our forefathers, they never released this something. Eribitan setso, ne? Holo gore ba khone go tlhekefetsa bana ba bang ba ba utlwise botlhoko. And jealousy is there. Lifufa. Akere ngwana wa ka o berekile. Akere a khoboketsa di chelete. The mother or the father thinks dilo tse ke tsa gagwe because ke ngwana wa gagwe. Ga expect gore wena o belegwe ke mosadi. O na le your own parent. Akere la bona e ya go bomme. Hai banna ha ba tlhekefetswa haholo. Mara rona basadi ke ba re utlwisiwang botlhoko. Ke because ha ba go lebelle gore wena o berekileng, wena o tswa go lapeng le le bjang. Just because o tsene ka mo bona, ba tla go bolela ka tradition ya bona. Tradition doesn't have any problem. A ke re hele tradition ya e tswa gore ge ngwetsi tsena a ke ra re bina ka loto le le one o bina ka loto le le one. But not ko lesong. Wa bona ke tshwenya ke ko lesong. Ke fitile mo. But fortunately enough, nani ke na le support from both sides. A utlwa ke bua ka tradition. Both sides kore bana ba utlwile botlhoko. How ka kry-a lapa le le sa amogele modimo? You are in danger. A kere ha ba amogele gore everything is been done by God. Ba gopola gore tsotlhe di irilwe ke bona, ke botho ba bona, ke tsa bona. Because modimo ke ena go fang everything. Ga se matla a motho, ke matla a modimo. If batho ba kana ba gopola gore bona ba ntse mo lefatsheng ba tlisitswe ke mang, ba tseya ke mang, then these issues di ka be di ne di stay. And ga bana nnete. Ga bana nnete. Ga ba bolelle batho di nnete. Nna he re gola ne re itse fola machine e tlisa ngwana. If you are there, you still remember. Ba go bolela gore ngwana o tswa ko le dibeng. Ba sa re bolelle nnete gore ngwana o tswa ka until re tsena dikolo di TV di tsena. And then re tlo palla ke go araba bana ba rona ge re sa lo kisisilosi. Because bana ba rona gana bana ba na le why ga bana z. Akere ho morare 1 2 3 are why. Then wena ha ona dikarabo. Go bontsha gore this tradition ha ina problem. Hence ba batlo sotla motho o iphitlha ka tradition. A gona tradition e re motho a ska ya kerekeng. A gona tradition a kere re dumetse rona ba bang gore re isiwe ba re alafiwa. A kere teng ba re alafiwa. And then motho wa alafa meola wa alafa. Na meo nkalafile. Umphile melao. Ne sa tshwenye. Ke mara ke go utlwa ba re from now go la tlhaeng ya ke re di bona dilo tseo. A ba re no. Harry? How I say na wena? Na kile. But ne ke ya ke na le knowledge ya modimo ne. Ya gore only God can protect me. A ke re nna ha ke na di parents. So ke relaile mo modimo ne. Kamara ka re ba re ga ke fe motho 1 2 3 ka letsogo ha ke ri 1 2 are no. Wa bona re ke motho o tsamela le tradition.
Okay, let me explain because some colleagues are lost. What Mama is talking about is the rituals that widows are going through, all right? When the husband dies, in some families, you have to go and see a traditional healer, all right? Because remember they are saying, you unesinyama, you have caused, because of isinyama, the bad luck, you have caused this death of your husband, all right? So now, your children, if you're an elderly person, it's either they will take you to the traditional healer, or the traditional healer comes to your house and then they cleanse you. So the traditional medicine that they will give you to bath, some of them, they steam you, they steam, you see what I'm doing? They steam the private parts, so they say. I didn't do it, I don't know. But here I am, I'm still okay. You see? So some of the things, really, they are myths, you know. They scare the widow. You must wake up at 4 o'clock to go and bath. I'm not supposed to give him anything using my left. I'm not supposed to look at his eyes. So many things, you know, useless laws that these people have to go through. So we are trying to demystify those things, to say some of these things really, they are not true. If I'm used to standing, why should I sit down if I don't want to? If I'm used to doing things in a certain way, why can't I continue doing it the way I used to? Hence, for me, I find it difficult. Why are women why do they sit on the mattress? We buy dining room suites, we buy sofas. Why should I sit on a mattress? What's going to happen to my chairs now? So this, for me, it's a problem. I can't sit on the floor for long. Because I understand that some of the people, they sit, you're not supposed to lean on something, you know. So that is why I call this widowhood rights punishment. This is me. I call them punishment. Because it's like I'm being punished for the death of this person. That's why the widows have to go through this hardship to prove or to feel the pain. So, Mama, if you can, if Basadi can know their rights, we cannot discuss about all these things. A person can go to the spiritual people, cleansing and all the other things if they want to, not if they are forced to. That's me talking now.
So, just 1 second, Doc. Do you want to address the question of the legalities of the partnership?
I stand to be corrected. I was told there's a lawyer who says not in this subject matter. But my understanding is that when you've lived with a person more than 6 months, the law allows you to be regarded as spouse. And if there's nothing written, it is in community of property. That's where the law is now. And these are some of the things that we need to create awareness so that people in relationships know. And I tend to agree with Mama. There's really so much richness in culture and why things are done in certain ways. It becomes a problem when it becomes abused. Like, for instance, they're sitting down culturally. In those olden days, there was no furniture. And that's why the culture moved on. But culture evolves. I mean, there's a tradition of a certain family that cooked chicken in a specific pot from one generation to another. One Mkwenyana comes into this tradition of cooking chicken in a certain way and asked his wife, but why do you guys do this? I've seen your mother does it and her mother does it. What's going on? Why do you cook the chicken that way? And the young wife then asked the grandmother. Grandmother said, nah, this is the only size pot I had. There's no culture to it. But they called it their culture in the family. Because sometimes the way of doing things are informed by circumstances. And because people don't connect to culture evolving, they, get stuck in the way things are done by because nedietwa so ning, because there's so much explanation on doing things culturally that are captured by people with wisdom. The sitting down is explained that you are receiving all the richness of the wisdom that comes into your home and it grounds you. Hausa etse jwalo o tla fetella. And if we connect to the reasons why these things are done, not when human rights are violated, but in a way that enriches us as African people. And when you look at Indogungenwa, this is practiced by Arabs, wherein when your brother got married to this woman and they fear that when this woman is left unattended to, those children will be exposed to poverty. So in the Arab culture, you are then forced, for lack of a better expression, to look after your brother's family and children. That's the context. And then runara fitla fela ra inka stuff, raibitsa our tradition, our culture. Informed by what? I still ask, because even people who are poverty-stricken would say, "Ngifuna isithembu." That's not how it works. When you don't have, you can't share. So there are so many of these cultural practices that we need to question and challenge, because culture is not stagnant, it evolves. That's why Risa Parima Peshu, walking around with our girls showing. We now have jackets. Somebody introduced this. And I always take offense when I'm donned in my traditional attire and people ask what's the occasion. It shouldn't be an occasional thing. It should be what we adopt as who we are. Even understanding, some of the things I was told, Kore, when you greet people, like you must walk around with shame. So we need to unpack who came with these rules and what informed them. And when you look in the Bible, a woman who's lost a husband was regarded as dirty. So we carried these things with us, and how relevant are they in our times? I refuse for my children and their children to inherit culture that doesn't make sense. So in my family, I have developed a new culture. We do certain things, and I'm hoping that generations to come, when they ask where does this come from, they will have a source. Our mother taught us. So some of these things we must take charge and teach, because we want our children to be better humans and not come and instill practices that are abusive to one another. You'll find your partner telling you, "Go high, I must take another wife." What do you say? When go high are saying that we're now ring. And oftentimes you have no response. Even this notion of changing surnames, conversation for another day. Sense of identity. Go high, they also want their surname to be extended. But yeah, conversation for another day. I'm not here for politics. The journey with the name widow is entirely up to you, because it's your story, it's your journey. Once in my life, I was widowed, but that doesn't define me. It's not what they name you, it's what you respond to. Some people get married to it because it has benefits. I remember I fought at nauseam where people would call me an AIDS activist. I chose to share my story about my HIV journey. That's not my name. That's not my identity. So that journey will be defined by you. It's part of your story, but it's not your identity. So you will determine for how long it lasts. Because they said AIDS activist, whenever you invite me for an interview, in your introduction, when you say AIDS activist, we're going to start by me correcting you that I'm not activating AIDS. So, bari bito lebe ke seromo. And sometimes these things, you get into a box and you live those things. mohlolohadi ha etse so. And then we begin to live in a certain way that is defined by rules saying they're really not serving you and they are not clear. So you begin your own rules. For me, my tag as somebody who once lost a partner, I only use it to advance the goodness of humanity. In my family, there's no widow that will not make decisions about burying her husband, because there's somebody who has passed on, there was a wife. Nobody is going to make a decision on behalf of that woman. I know what it's like when people make that decision on my behalf. Therefore, I'm breaking that cycle. And nobody is going to be made to wear those clothes, not understanding what it means, and if they don't want to. Because nobody explains why is it women wear 6 months to a year, and munna o tla kenya fela konopo. I mean, nobody's explaining that, as if pain is not the same. And nobody will dictate to the widow how long you stay single. Because for Munna, on the day when he's gone, there's a following person who's going to be cleaning the curtains. So Luena, you must have potential. So where are we taking this from here? Because so these rules and laws must really be equal. Equal to the task, equal to all humans. Because that's what we are at the end of the day. So it's entirely up to you what you associate yourself with what you associate widowhood in your life as. If it's a journey for that period, let it be. If it's an identity that you assume because you want to advance the humanity, you do that. And if you are holding on to it because it gives you comfort of being closer to your spouse, that's how you choose to channel your pain. And that's a choice that you make. Haina mulao. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Ladies and gentlemen, I can see that we have yes, we've got approximately about 20 minutes to go. Before I invite Dr. Nkosi and Dr. Menth to share their thoughts on the discussions that we've been having, I just have two quick things that I would like to... yes. Okay, yes.
I'm sorry, before you proceed, can I correct what Dr. Criselda mentioned about the spouses, how the 6 months relationship now becomes a spouse?
Okay.
What happens is that when two people are together and they decide not to marry, it's a universal relationship. It's not a marriage. Mm-hmm. So those people are partners but not spouses. Mm-hmm. So when you're in a 6 months relationship, that's cohabitation, and it's regarded as a universal partnership, not a marriage. Mm-hmm. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, sir.
No, in terms of inheritance, if that one of the spouses pass on, that's your description of the relationship. But should one of the partners pass, you are equal to 50%.
When living together as well.
It's legal, you inherit.
What about living together?
No, you don't. No, you don't. Because there must be a will, and if they die intestate, it means now it goes to the blood relations, not to the partner.
They say if I like I contributed to the house, what happened? I'm independent.
No,
Yeah.
that's not true.
So be careful.
Yeah.
Boyfriends up there.
Yeah. Okay. Listen, gentlemen. Just one or two quick remarks that I would like to make. I promise it will take just 1 second. You know, Mr. Nyati, you spoke, I think, very briefly about, a scenario where a grieving woman is excluded. They are supposed to sit somewhere there. And that essentially reminded me of the fact that women are excluded pretty much from anything that you can think about in society. That is the lived experience of women in our society. Excluded from the economy, excluded from political participation, excluded from military involvement, all sorts of things. Now, here is one fascinating thing, again, that I learned through the study of anthropology. Are you guys aware of the so-called menstrual huts as a form of exclusion? In the Sudan, when a woman is menstruating, she has to live in an exclusive hut located somewhere there in the periphery of the homestead, because menstrual blood is associated with what? Pollution. Yes, right? And that's just one example, one form, just one example, one form of something really nonsensical that you were referring to earlier. Now, the second remark that I want to make is widowhood is a socially and culturally constructed category, right? And before you can construct a category, you must assign certain sociological and anthropological universals to it. You designate, you name it, right? So that you can validate it, right? And you develop principles that are going to uphold it. You see? So it's quite fascinating to really be thinking about these kinds of things. Dr. Nkosi, please, if you may.
I don't know, are you able to hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you, Program Director. I want to start by congratulating the WISA teams and the leader, team members, and the leader for this insightful 3 years that we've had with them. Indeed, when the project says it aligns itself with Sustainable Development Goal number 5 and number 10 specifically, into gender equality and reducing inequality, indeed it does. The talks and also the reflection that was done by Dr. Shandu, it shows us over the years what you have been doing, and today we're really still celebrating that we do see the gender inequality being reduced through these projects, and gender equality, we are going to really see it through the outputs that you are talking about. I also want to comment on equal to task and equal to human. It really speaks to this project that we are celebrating today. And all from me is to say, I wish the project all the best in getting more money, because there's still a lot that we need from this project. Thank you very much, Program Director.
Thank you very much. Dr. Nkosi, for your comments. Dr. May, you've been in the front lines, particular battle. Your comments, please.
Okay, and thank you, Program Director. Much has been said. All I'm going to do is to thank everybody, starting with the presenters. Thank you very much, our keynote speaker, Dr. Griselda Kananda. Thank you for sharing with us your life history. I cannot say we enjoyed the story, but we heard you. We got the message, and we learned. It was education to some of us. It was a form of empowerment. There are so many women out there who experienced or continue to experience the same situations. They cannot be exactly the same, but go through the same pain and they don't know what to do, where to go, who to turn to. So your presence today is very important, it's valuable, it's commendable, and we really appreciate your presence. Thank you very much. Dr. Shandu, in her absence, I would like to also thank her for taking us through the journey of WISA. I like the way she pronounced it, WISA. We normally say WISA, so today I had another version, WISA. She took us through the whole journey and the disciplines that we interacted with, that we continue to interact with as a form of support that we are trying to make available to widows who approach us. I wish many widows can hear about this, and I'm happy, Dr. Danke, that this is going international. This is online, this is everywhere. People are hearing about us, and we really appreciate all the multidisciplinary, interdisciplinary, transdisciplinary offices that have availed themselves to work with us, so that we can be able to reach out to the widows out there. Dr. Kambule, thank you very much for chairing the program. Everything went well and we really appreciate. Dr. Nkosi, for welcoming us, and your last words just now, wishing the project good luck and all the opportunities. We really appreciate you. To the attendees, the delegates, thank you very much for making time. When you heard this, you didn't undermine it. You didn't say, it's WISA, it's about widows, I'm not a widow. You made time to come here to share the day, the special day with us. Your inputs are valuable. Your contributions are very important. We take them very serious. And thank you so much. Thank you, Mr. Program Director.
Thank you very much. Just the whole story about WISA and WISA. When I started working with the project, I struggled to pronounce Dr. Size's last name, surname.
Thank you.
Yes. I used to call her Danke or something. That was the first time I had my encounter with the surname. So we learn, people. Thank you so much. Thank you. Is there anyone, just one person with a burning issue or question that they would like to raise? And if that's not the case, then I would like to proceed in the direction of closure.
Maybe I should also add to say what I'm taking home with. Dr. Griselda, I'm taking home the 5 B's. Beautiful, bold, beloved, bright and brave. You emulated that. In our presence, we saw that. So why not adopt it and make it yourself? And share it with others, share it with all the women. Thank you very much for that.
Thank you, Dr. May. Thank you very much. I would like to give Dr. Kananda a minute or two, and Dr. Danke a minute or two, to very briefly say something.
I think I've said enough. More than this would be lies. But I just want to encourage everyone to just wake up every day being purposed. No one is going to do this for you. You wake up, you have an agenda, and the agenda is just to be light. The agenda is each time you pick up your phone, your laptop, each time you have a conversation with a person, as you walk away, they must feel that you've changed their lives. You have left them better than when you connected with them. Because that, for me, is the purpose of why we are here on earth. I am because you are. And because of that, every day must be a day where I'm thinking, okay, today I'm challenged by X, but when I think of what Criselda has gone through, this is nothing. I too can do it. So let's go out. When Madiba said you are light for the world to see, for me, it was a clarion call to just share that light wherever I go. And as I share that light, I'm giving you permission to also share your light. And like a positive ripple effect, we go around sharing good light, positive light, and we become better people. And my recent hashtag that whenever I'm given an opportunity to share is hashtag masithandane ntorhwana, please. Ndiyacela.
Yo, I don't know what to say now. I just want to tell widows that widowhood it is a rite of passage. It doesn't define who you are. Isigaba nje siyafika ushonelwe ngubaba uhambile, then after that collect yourself, continue with your life, okay? And then the other thing is that when they say you have killed him, you know that you did not kill him. So why are you worried about that? Because it is their perceptions. So let us learn to differentiate between perceptions and reality. Don't be bothered by people's perceptions. They will always talk. Somebody will talk. So don't be bothered by that. Just move on with your life. And then the other thing also is that you must, when your partner has left you, you must then go back and replan your life without him. I always say to people, before you met your husband, you were single. There are plans you had. I want to do this. You wanted to conquer the world. Then you met this person. The plans changed. You had a family, you had children, things changed. But when he is gone, there's a vacuum. Then you can go back to the plans which you did not fulfill and continue planning your life again. So let's just think about who we are, how can we impact the world, how can we assist the other person. Let's share kindness. Let us be kind to each other. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Danke. Banmaga inabo sasega so nyanyula so ngasi. Hikense ngofu himi noko le ngaba nayo namuhla. Minoko le yo saseka so nyanyula so ngasi. Hati nyungudzwisa himintiro leni mi endlaka Dr. Danke na team ya n'we le ntiraka na yo ka tindhawu to hambana na ka tindhawu to tala. Se hi fike emakumu ya nonkonoko wa hewa namhlanje. Ni lava ku ri ni khensa ngopfu vanhu hinkwavo lava va nga tihlanganisa na nonkonoko lo wa hina wa namhlanje. Nonkonoko is a program. Nkombela ku ri ke se ntekanyana nkarhi lowutsongo na me ni khensa vanhu lava a va hi pfuna vanhu lava va multimedia lava a va tsale ku famba na yena kusukela hi cala program leyi famba ya tindhawu to tala to hambana se va famba na yena ku ri va kota ku endla ku ri nonkonoko lo wa yena ufamba ufika ka tindhawu to tala ti platforms to tala to hambana leti ti endla ku ri message le ya program le I famba I kota ku ri ifika ka vanhu van'wana vo tala se inkhense ngopfu na ku ri nokonoko lo wa namhlanje u kota ku ri uba success hi ndlela leyi u nga va success hi yona se hi fikeke amakumu ka program ya namhlanje igama lami ke ngingu-Axon D the Cat Khambule siyabonga kakhulu ukuthi ke nibe khona namhlanje nibe ingxenye yale program sesifike ke emaphethelweni lalo hlelo namhlanje sengathi sike ngaba nosuku oluhle niphinde futhi nijabulele impela sonto yenu kuba izihambeli zethu nakubavakashi bethu siyabonga solwazi wethu ungasiflatheli ungasilahli ngaso sonke isikhathi uma ngabe siza sinqonqoza eminyango usivulele usamukele njengoba wenzile namhlanje. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. Ladies and gentlemen, may you please remain seated while we wait for our